The Diamond Dawgs got a huge series win. We're going to break it down exactly what happened. And at the end of the show, stay tuned because I would assume our top dog of the weeks will come from that series. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We have a fun show today. We said on Friday it would be a fun one if we can get a series win. Well, we got that. And so we're going to talk about Mississippi State getting that series win over Ole Miss. Also, the indoor practice facility that was approved, I believe, back in January. There's been an update to that. So we'll talk about that and what that means to the program. And then, of course, like every Monday, it's our top dog of the week. But first, we got to start with that amazing series win because it first looked like that Mississippi State might not pull it off with that 10-4 loss to open the series. But we said before, if you could just get two, that'd be massive, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they got two, and Pico was not sharp to start the series. I mean, he had the 7 strikeouts, but I gave up 6 runs. That's not what you're really expecting from him, and definitely not what you want to do to open a series. But after that, things went pretty well. After night one, things got going very well.
Yeah, the second game was just a dominant pitching performance. I mean, you get the 4-1 win. The only one you allow was in the ninth inning, top of the ninth inning, and that was on a flyout. So that was your one run, and that was given up by Ben Davis, who wasn't the starter. Evan Siary was the starter. He was incredible. 6 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts, no runs, no base on balls. Yeah, I mean, he was just flat out incredible in that game. And then you followed it up in the rubber match and get a 6-5 win. And that one was one of those games where it was like, are they about to blow this again? Because, they jumped out to the 6-1 lead. And it's like, okay, you're in good shape. Then you allow 2 runs in the 7th, 2 runs in the 8th. And now it's 6-5 heading into the 9th inning. And it's like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah, I thought we were about to have another the bullpen blew it conversation, but they held on. They did just enough to get the win. Huge series win, taking 2 out of 3 from a top 25 team. So we talked a lot about what could this team end up being in the postseason, and if with this win, I mean, I think it's safe to say, barring a massive collapse, I mean, they're going to be in a regional somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely playing for that. I mean, you get the Missouri series to end the year, and that's a team that got their first win of SEC play this past weekend. I can't remember if they ended up getting a second win, but I know they definitely only have one win, or at least one win. You also get North Alabama in the midweek game. So, I mean, you should end the year winning those 4 games, and that would be, 6 in a row for you. And you're playing really good baseball. Like you mentioned in that last game, it looks like the bullpen might blow it. They ended up pitching 5 guys in that game, and Ben Davis who struggled, had 2 walks, only made it to a third of an inning. Ryan McPherson also came in and he walked 1 in his 1 inning, and Nate Williamson allowed 2 runs. Luke Dotson allowed 1 run. Carson was pretty good, only allowed 3 hits and 1 run. He was the starter, obviously, but he had 7 strikeouts, but it was kind of up and down because he also walked 6 batters.
Yeah, it was a very uneven pitching weekend for everyone not named Evan.
Right.
And it was not the cleanest of series either. In the game on Saturday, the third game, they had 2 errors, and then I actually played a clean game on the second game, but some of that might have had to do with so many strikeouts. Not that many were put into play when you have someone who strikes out 15 batters.
Right.
But then 2 errors in the first game, so the errors have kind of come back a little bit. 4 errors over 3 games is not great. Some bullpen struggles. So I mean, they won the series, but the issues that we've seen throughout the year were still there. They just They hit enough and had one dominant pitching performance to get out of there with the series win.
Well, they've been kind of dominant over Ole Miss. I can't remember the exact number, but they've been dominating series against them the last few years, especially. Obviously, you overall tie the season series, if you want to say, because you lost that one midweek game. But that was a game, again, you should have won. You should have beaten Ole Miss 3 out of 4 times this year. That's what's crazy about it, because this is one of the worst Mississippi State teams we've seen in a few years, and that was one of the better Ole Miss teams. Now, not the best. Obviously, they won the World Series the year after Mississippi State did. So they're obviously a really good program and good team too. But this is a really good Ole Miss team this year. We felt like they're kind of in that next tier in the SEC. Yeah. And for you to get 2 out of 4, but really should have won 3 out of 4 if you took away that first game. That says a lot about where this program is as a whole, despite the bad season.
Yeah, and the fact that you then win 2 of those games in the 3-game series after you fire your coach. I mean,
right.
And, some of this does have to do with the schedule got a lot easier in the post-Lemonis era. Like, they went through a murderer's row before he was fired. But they've been playing well. Like, this is really the first series where the errors have cropped back up. And, bullpens are always going to go through ups and downs. So you can't say that was anyone. I mean, every bullpen struggles at some point. But It does seem like they fixed a lot of the little issues and are just playing better baseball overall since he got fired. And I do think that goes back to his messaging was just stale. Whatever it was, it just wasn't getting through to him anymore.
Well, and I believe they're 6-1 since the firing, and the one loss was the Ole Miss first game this series. So they're playing really good baseball. And I will say this, and I've seen some people be like, oh, look, it was, the issues that we were having with the bullpen and stuff like that, it's fixed now that Lemonis is gone, and so it must be Lemonis' issue. That could be the truth, but also what also could be happening is, and we know this happens, when your head coach gets fired, you're now coaching for your job, and you're going to start making changes that you might not have been doing before. Because when your coach is still there, your head coach is still there, you have job security. As soon as he's gone, your job security is gone. You're coaching for a spot on the next staff. And then also players with this new transfer portal era, you're now playing for a spot at Mississippi State next year.
Yeah, you're playing for a spot there. Or if the off chance someone gets hired that you don't like, you're playing to show another coach that you want a spot on their team. So everyone's just – the pressure gets amped up a little bit after that happens, but there's also probably something a little bit freeing about it too.
Right.
There's all that just pressure, and then the constant just will he get fired? Will he get fired? Will he get fired? When that's lifted,
right?
I mean, there's some freedom that comes from that as well. So it's good to see that again. They're playing fun baseball finally. They're playing pretty good. We'll see what happens. Like we've talked about, this team has talent and they're showing it. So hopefully it's not too little too late to actually make some noise, but it's better late than never, I guess.
And you can kind of see that pressure get lifted off. And it also, you go from a fan base that you could tell is frustrated when Lemonis is there, and you can kind of hear the groans and the mumbles and all that when you're playing a home game in front of your fans. And then as soon as he's gone, there's now this rejuvenated spirit from the fan base as well, not just the players, and that uplifts the players too to want to play better. I did see something like this, and I knew this was the case, but then when you actually see it in writing, they had the 22nd largest showing in college baseball history this past weekend, and now they have number 1 through 22 of the largest showings. Mississippi State does. That is insane to think about attendance wise.
That's crazy to have. I mean, hey, can we keep it by next year? They might have the top 25 as just all
right.
I mean, that's a crazy stat to have. I mean, but that points to what we talked about, how this is a good job because of the facility, because of the fan base.
Right.
I mean, a lot of college stadiums can't hold that many people.
Right. And the dude was rocking this weekend. Yeah, the dude was rocking this weekend.
And have the people show up. Even, I mean, obviously rivalry weekend, but I mean, this is a down season by Mississippi State standards, and we're still bringing in that many people. That's proof of what can be built here.
Right, and that's why, like, I saw someone say, like, hey, if you ask, during the conversation about which sport you should focus on, and we were talking about money-wise is what we were talking about, and someone said, well, if you ask any Mississippi State fan, they would care way more that the baseball team's good than the football team's good. And no, we're not arguing that. We do think as a fan base, they probably care about baseball more than football. overall, what we were talking about was strictly just money-wise. Money-wise, football raises your money. Football needs to be the focus money-wise. We're not talking about the fan base. We understand the fan base loves baseball, and they're proving that, especially like you said, they could have the top 25 by next year because I believe they had two of those, like take over two of those in the top 22 now this season. So it's possible they have the top 25 by next year.
Yeah, and you have to focus on football from a money perspective, obviously.
Right.
And you funnel, heck, if you want to, all that money you raise from football, funnel it to baseball. But I mean, but you're not going to fund baseball through baseball. That's basically the point of what we're getting at. And I mean, I would never want to take away sport from any baseball team, and especially what we've got going here. So hey, it's just great to see him win a series like this, though.
Yeah, for sure. All right, but while the baseball team had a great weekend, it was also a great weekend just for MSU athletics in general. And we got to talk about the football team as they got a big news on an update on the indoor practice facility. We'll talk about that. That's coming up next.
Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. We've all been there, and now I budget smarter and save more, all in one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. With easy collaboration, managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for half off your first year.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon. So we've also obviously we've talked about this indoor practice facility. I believe one of our first episodes we talked about it was something that was announced, I believe, back in January. Like it's been a minute, but it kind of got an update to it. And this is just it's big for these new plans. And really back then when we talked about it, it was kind of the athletics master plan, and in that was included obviously the new football only indoor practice facility. The crazy thing, and I knew Mississippi State didn't have one, but it's crazy to think that they were the only SEC football program without one that was exclusively devoted to football or anything like that. And so that's kind of crazy to think about because they've kind of shared one with baseball, for years. But now this is finally going to be just there. So kind of talk about that because I think that is massive. One, Zach Selmon just really hasn't gotten a lot of credit for some of the stuff he does, but to get that done within your first couple of years, that's a major accomplishment for any athletic director.
Yeah, it's huge. You have to have that. That's one of those things. Like, it was one of the things when I heard, like, I knew it didn't exist, but when you hear that they're building one, it's like, I thought we had that because you know it's not there, but it's so common now that you just kind of assume it was there and you just didn't know where it was. But getting this is huge. Facilities aren't the selling point they once were to recruits with NIL and everything, but you have to have
the bare minimum stuff at least.
Yes, you have to have that kind of stuff because how can you expect to compete at the level that is required in the SEC when you're not giving your players and your coaches the chance to succeed by giving them these facilities?
Yeah, and this was obviously a large gift from Howard Industries. Obviously, that's the former student athlete Billy W. Howard Sr. That was the one that's kind of funding this. And I was reading some of the details about it. I mean, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be 110,000 square feet. It's going to have a 100-yard practice field and areas dedicated to sports science to maximize player health. It'll be built alongside the existing Leo Seal Jr. football complex, which will also see upgrades during this project. It will take approximately $60 million to complete. Now they're expecting it's not going to happen sometime real soon. It's expected to start the groundbreaking process in 2027. The indoor facility is hopefully going to be done in 2028, and then the final upgrades will be completed in 2029. So it's a big investment, but it's one that needs to happen. Like you said, facilities aren't the driver that it used to be for a lot of players, but they are big in terms of if you don't have something that another one has.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not talking about the luxury stuff. Like some teams have these like really high tech luxury stuff, and
Yeah.
that's cool to have extra, but that's not going to drive a person to go there. But not having your own indoor practice facility is going to be that's something that players want. And I think it's cool to have the player health spot dedicated for them. It's going to have all this advanced technology and stuff to show that. I think that's really cool too.
Yeah, that sports science faction is going to be really cool. They'll be able to do now how it's implemented. We'll probably actually never know how all that is implemented. That's probably going to be a state secret, but it'll be cool to see what they can get out of that if it does help them with player development, because that's a big part of especially football at Mississippi State is the development of players over time. So if you're able to find something that can give you little edges and help people develop in different ways by the health and the sports science, that's going to be a very cool addition to it. So it is a long way out from it actually being completed, but glad to see it's getting going.
Yeah, and the facility will be named after Mr. Howard that donated the money. But I thought Zach Selmon said something. Yeah, right. I thought Zach Selmon said something interesting. He talked about how this is a critical time in college football, and they must continue really to take the steps forward to elevate Mississippi State football. And he's right. In terms of just we know it's a new era. We know NIL is the dominant thing. We know transfer portal is a part of it. We know all this is there. But there's so much more to having an elite program and having kids that want to come to your program, and stuff like this is just critical to have, and you just have to have it moving forward. And so we're glad that they're now taking the steps, and props to Selmon because again, he gets a lot of flack for the coaching hires, but there's so much that goes into being an athletic director that they have to handle. It's not just the coaches. It's not even just the specific teams. Sometimes it's buildings and all this other stuff that they have to add to it. And I think that's one reason why you're starting to see more general managers come in. Mm-hmm. General managers can manage the team and let the athletic director just manage the overall vision. And I think that will be good. But yeah, I mean, props to him because this was something that had to happen and something he saw as his vision when he got hired, and he's made it happen.
Yeah, and we talked about how he's under pressure. Well, this doesn't really alleviate pressure, but it gives you it's a good win. It's a big win, and if you have this and you nail the baseball hire, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't think people realize how big of a deal it is because all they care about is the wins. And I get it. When you're a fan, that's all you're going to care about. Get the wins. We want the wins. But stuff like this leads to those wins eventually because really good players will be like, okay, I'm not going to be at a big disadvantage if I choose Mississippi State versus if I choose this other team.
Yeah, and ultimately he will be judged on wins and losses, but this is the stuff that adds to the like if you have a good legacy as an athletic director, the fact that you built this and if, other buildings, other facilities pop up, those are things that add to the legacy that can be far more lasting to a university than getting a right coaching hire. Because a good coach, I mean, best case scenario, 10 years. I mean, this obviously it'll take renovations over time, but when you set this up and then make that the foundation and you're just able to renovate and build onto something that's been created, that can impact the next 50 years.
Yeah, and it also impacts your coaching hires. Coaches want to come to schools that have these great facilities and that players will want to come to facilities because they know it makes it that much easier to recruit these guys to these places. They know they're going to have really their work cut out for them if they don't have these advantages as well. So it all comes into the vision of how you want to make your university and how you want to make your football team. And so it matters to everything. When you're hiring coaches, when you're signing players, it all matters. And so it's good to see them take the next step. But all right, coming up next, we got our top dog of the week. Don't go anywhere. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, top dog of the week. Who is it?
I think this one's pretty easy for me. And I mean, you could probably guess who I'm going to pick. It's Evan.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not? When you throw 8 innings of shutout ball with 15 strikeouts, I mean, that's like Pedro Martinez stat line for
Right.
I mean, Randy Johnson stat line. Like, that's that type of game. And when you do that, especially when your team needed it after the first game, when they gave up 10 runs, they ran through extra pitchers, all of that, and you come in and you give them 8 innings of shutout baseball, that is a massive accomplishment individually. What he did was a great game, but what he did for the team too, being able to he put the team on his back and saved the bullpen.
Yeah, and this is one that I typically would say, okay, you pick that one, I'll go with this one. But it was just too good of a performance. You can't go to someone else. You know, no. Ace Reese, I want to say, had a really good weekend again, which he's had many of them. But Evan was just incredible. And the thing is, he's mainly been a reliever this year. You know, I think the most innings he pitched until he pitched 6 innings against Auburn was like 4 innings. So he's mainly been a reliever this year, and he's never thrown more than 6 strikeouts, and he threw 15. So, I mean, the 15, that's the same amount of his last 3 appearances combined. And those last 3 appearances were pretty good. It was 5 strikeouts, 4 strikeouts, 6 strikeouts. That's really good, but it's not 15 good.
That's almost 2 an inning. Like, I mean, that is insane. That's how you keep your team from making errors. You don't let the other team put the ball in play.
Well, and he didn't walk anyone, which is the first time he hasn't done that since the Southern Miss game, which he did it the first 3 games to start the year. But all 3 of those games was he pitched 1 inning, 1 1/3 inning, and 1 inning. So it's like he only pitched an inning, so not walking someone isn't super impressive. This game, he pitched 8 innings and didn't walk anyone.
Kind of makes you wonder why he hasn't been starting, honestly. Like, I'm sure there might be there's probably a decision that we're unaware of that went on behind the scenes to it. But when you have a guy who comes out and has a performance like this, like, why have you not been using him like this the whole season?
Right, because he's only been logged for 3 games as a win-loss. So he didn't start all those games.
Right.
Well, actually, he might have started. I can't remember if he started that Alabama game that he ended up losing or if he didn't. I know he started the Auburn game, and I know he started the obviously the Ole Miss game, but he's 2-1 on the season. And he's just, I mean, he was incredible in this game. And you're going to need that. If you make a regional, you're going to need that.
Yeah, you need a number 2 pitcher, and they might have just found their number 2 pitcher. Now, the guy who's been the number 1 most of the year needs to get back to being that number 1 because he's has not been as good the last couple starts as he was earlier.
He struggled.
He struggled big time this week, but the few before that were just not quite as good. Maybe it's just a little end of season fatigue, but hey, it looks like you've at least found a number 2.
Yeah, which they've relied heavily on Pico, and so it's like part of me wants to give him a pass. Another part is it's like it's a really critical part of the season that it's hard to give anyone a pass at this moment because you're trying to push for a regional berth. But they've relied on him so much, and it's been basically Pico or bust every series they've played, that at this point it's like, okay, he has allowed maybe 2 bad performances, but if it keeps going, that's going to be tough for you to overcome.
Right. Yeah, and you want to give him a break, but at the same time, he's your ace, and the ace isn't allowed to break. Right. I mean, you want to be that number 1 guy. You got to do it every week.
Yep, for sure. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over on Athlon Sports. A lot of college football, some college basketball, some NBA as well. If you're into that, the NBA playoffs are in full swing. That's Landon. Follow us on Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. We post daily videos Monday through Friday on all those pages, so check those out. Also, we post a question every time in our YouTube video. So go there. We'd love to hear your feedback. We love to interact with the fans. If there's a topic you want us to discuss that we're missing, feel free to let us know. And then we also post a poll. So we love your responses on those polls because those kind of help us get a good idea of kind of what the fan base is feeling on some of the topics that we've discussed. So we would love your feedback on that. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.